Let's talk about tools for foundation paper piecing. What tools are there, which do you really need, and what are my favorite tools? Hi there! Welcome to a new video on the Sugar YouTube channel. My name is Irene and today we're going to chat about tools for foundation paper piecing. Foundation paper piecing is one of my favorite quilting techniques, and we just started a quilt along with this quilt behind me, and that is the quilt from Happy Notes, my new book. And we're doing a quilt along together this year. We just started, so you can still join in and get a copy of the ebook or the physical book, the paperback, and join in the quilt along. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to be sewing together every month and making a few blocks, and then at the end of the year we will have a wonderful paper pieced quilt. If you want to know more about that, check out the link sugardoo.com/happycall, and you can join for free. You just need to get a copy of the book. Hope to see you there inside the quilt along. But today we're going to talk about tools for foundation paper piecing. You can have a lot of tools, like you see here. I'm just going to go over them and tell you if they're really necessary or if they are nice to haves, and we'll just have a little chat about the tools. So first off, when you are doing foundation paper piecing, you need some paper. And in a previous video, I talked about when to use what kind of paper, tea bag paper, freezer paper. I love both. You use them in different situations. So if you want to know more about that, do hop over to that video after this one. But paper is one of the first things, materials, not really a tool, but a material that you need for foundation paper piecing, as is a pattern, of course. And with the paper and the pattern, you can, and with your fabrics, you can start and make a foundation paper piecing block. So what then are tools that you can use? Well, first of all, for cutting fabrics, you can use a fabric scissor, but I think it's way easier to use a cutting mat and a rotary cutter and rulers. I use a smaller cutting mat when I'm doing foundation paper piecing, and I put this right beside my sewing machine. That when I have sewed something and I press it open or do some finger pressing, then I can cut it right away and go back to the sewing machine, so that it's in one flow and I don't have to get up all the time. So I think essential with quilting is cutting mat and a rotary cutter. And with that you also need ruler. So ruler comes in inches or centimeters, just the measurements that you prefer to work in. They come in all kinds of sizes. I really think that this is a 6 by 12 inch ruler. I think this one is really handy for squaring up smaller blocks, and just a really handy tool to use. Mine is scratched and really worn out and even has chunks falling out. It's being used a lot. Let's just say that. So that is cutting tools. And scissor wise, you can use fabric scissors, but also get a pair of paper scissors at hand when you need to cut your pattern, or you want to make template pieces from a paper pattern, you want to cut your freezer paper. Don't use your fabric scissors, just use a pair of paper scissors for that. So with foundation paper piecing, even though I cut a lot of the seams, a lot of the pieces, I also use scissors to cut out a fabric, or maybe to snip off a thread or a small piece of fabric when I'm sewing. So I also use these. Then for the sewing part, I love to use a 1/4 inch foot. So this is a Bernina foot, and it sews at a 1/4 inch of the needle. So what does that mean? That here in the center there how can I show this? Here in the center is your needle, of course, and then when you line up your fabric at this edge, then that means between the needle and that edge will be a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's really handy to have that at hand with foundation paper piecing, with all kinds of piecing actually. This is the 97D. So the Bernina Food, I use the 97D, and I really like it. So that also is a nice one to have at hand. And thread. I have thread here. Of course you need thread. What kind of thread? Not so thick thread. So use a 50 weight or maybe even a 60 weight, because the thinner you go, the less bulk you will have in your seams. When you're using a thicker, like 30 weight thread or something like that, then your seams will just get a little more bulky. So a 50 weight is nice to use for foundation paper piecing, or even go thinner when you have a lot of seams building up on the same spot in your pattern. Thread. Let's see. Pins. I don't really pin while sewing foundation paper piecing. So when I'm making the separate sections of a block, I'm not using any pins. But there are 2 situations where I do use a pin during foundation paper piecing, and that is when I'm making a bigger block and I have kind of a large first piece. Then I could use a pin or 2 to keep that piece of fabric in place on the paper template. So that very first piece of fabric, sometimes I stick in a pin to keep that in place. And the second time I use pins is when I join sections together. So when I've sewn a few sections that come together as a block, then I pin on all the seams that need to line up. So when you have kind of intersection of fabrics and you need to line up those points, I stick in a pin on both sections, and then that really helps. So when joining sections for foundation paper piecing, I do use pins, and of course you need a cute pin cushion to keep you company at your sewing machine. What else? Here I have add a 1/4 rulers. Are they really necessary? No. Are they really nice to have? Yes, they are. So the thing is with foundation paper piecing, after you add a piece of fabric, you fold it open, and then you need to get ready to sew on the next piece of fabric. And what I love to do is then fold away the paper template over the next seam that's up, and then use a ruler to cut away the excess fabric to a 1/4 inch, so that you only have that 1/4 inch of fabric left. If you are new to foundation paper piecing and have no clue what I'm talking about, I do have videos about this. So do look up Shirido FPP or something, or check the videos on the Shirido YouTube page. Then you will for sure find tutorials about the general technique behind foundation paper piecing. But if you already know how to do foundation paper piecing, you probably know the step that I mean. So when you fold open the fabric and you want to join the next piece of fabric, I always like to cut away the excess fabric to a 1/4 inch. And you can do that with such a ruler. You can even do that without a ruler, just eyeballing it. But I think it's really quick to use add a 1/4 ruler. This one you need to keep in place yourself. You need to make sure that it's not slipping, check if it's really correctly on the seam. And with this one, there we go. I think that is in focus-ish. You see these little bumps here on the rulers, and you can scoop that over to your seam, and then it nestles nicely against your seam, and then it leaves a 1/4 inch on this side. So not sure if I put it in words correctly how they work, but they are really useful to get that 1/4 inch seam. I hope that was in focus. Sorry if it was not. But there's this little edge. So when you want to, let's say this is my fabric and I want to add 1/4 inch and cut on 1/4 inch on this side, all I have to do with this ruler is slide it against it, and as you can see, it will stay with 1/4 inch distance. So when I cut over here, I'm cutting at 1/4 inch away from, well, my pretend fabric ruler. So all you have to do is slide the ruler against the fabric, and then you know you have 1/4 inch. I just love them, especially when you're making a big quilt like this. It's really convenient. And this is just a bigger one and a smaller one. And this is add an 1/8 ruler. So it's not an add 1/4 ruler, but add an 1/8. And that just adds a tinier seam, 1/8 of an inch seam. This is perfect when you have kind of bulky seams or working on a very tiny block. Yes, maybe that was a little bit of a chaotic explanation of what these rulers are, but I love them. I use them all the time. They're super convenient. So do you really need them? No, but well, also yes. What else do we have here? I have 3 things left, and let's do this one first. This is a seam roller. It can help you press your seams without using heat, without using an iron. So when you fold open your fabrics, you can finger press it, or you can press it with an iron, or you can use a seam roller to press your seam. I love it. I also have the wooden one, which looks really cool and makes great flat lay Instagram posts, pictures. But this plastic one, this is my Clover. This plastic thingy, it works just a little bit better. The other one, you have to aim a little bit better where the center of the roller is. And this one, it's a plastic thingy, but it works really well. So I like it a lot because it takes kind of a step out of the process. So when you're making a block, especially when you use tea bag paper and don't need the heat for freezer paper, you just open your fabric, give it a little press with your roller, and then you can continue sewing. You don't have to get up, go to your ironing board, give it a press with your iron, and then, well, yeah, like it a lot. Not necessary, and I also don't always use it, but for some blocks, for some patterns, it's really handy. And then the final 2. These ones are for when it's not going so well with your block making. This is just a seam ripper and some washi tape. So tea bag paper and also printing paper, they really rip easily when you make a mistake and then rip out your stitches. So when you've sewn on a piece of fabric in the wrong way, we all know that happens, especially when you're sewing late in the evening. You put it on mirrored or you put it on wrong side up, and then you need to rip it out. And when you rip out your stitches, your paper is perforated with all the holes from your needle, and then it's really easy to tear it. When you stick it together with just normal, what's the word? Just normal tape, the plastic see-through, is it Scotch tape? Normal tape? I don't know the word. In Dutch we call it plakband, sticky tape. But the plastic see-through version of that's a normal thing to use when you want to tape 2 things together. That one, of course, melts when you put an iron on it. So there you have to be careful when you want to press your blocks. So I like to use washi tape. There's also a little bit of plasticky stuff in here, I guess, but it's more paper-like washi tape. So when I need to correct something, I rip out the stitches carefully, then I take away that piece that was on the wrong way, and then I will just stick this over the pattern piece so that paper is nice and steady again. So yeah, washi tape together with a seam ripper. And this one, I think it's really nice. It's by Bohan, a French brand, and it kind of flips open and closes. I think it's really handy, especially when you want to take it with you in a purse or I mean a bag, a project bag or something. It's really nice that it folds like that. Yes, well, I guess that's all the tools. All the tools that I like to use for foundation paper piecing. And my favorite one, I think it is the Ecourse rulers. I just really like how they work and how convenient they make the foundation paper piecing. That's it for this video. I would love for you to join us in the quilt along about the quilt, the Happy Notes quilt with all the foundation paper piecing blocks. I would love to see you in there and chat with you every month in the new live videos and well, make some fun blocks together this year. Hope to see you there and thank you for tuning in. Bye!